Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the MCU Perspectives, What If Edition. And today, we're going to be discussing episode 23 of Marvel's What If. What if the Emergence destroyed the Earth? So, before we get to talking about this episode, let's pivot to the Eternals for a minute. So, on the very slim chance you haven't seen that movie, the Eternals focused on a team of immortal beings called, the Eternals, who were sent to Earth by a celestial being known as Arishem to protect it from a predatory species known as the Deviants, who basically hunted anything that moved. As such, for hundreds of years, the Eternals protected humanity from Deviants, though for the most part, they were told they had to be hands-off with humanity, only being allowed to intervene if Deviants were involved. And as such, for hundreds of years, the Eternals basically stood on standby, but even after they quelled the Deviants, they were never given the order to leave the planet. And it wasn't until the modern day that they finally learned why. They were basically celestial nursemaids. You see, how Celestials like Arishem are born is that a Celestial seed is put into a planet, and in order for that seed to birth a new Celestial, the planet that it's in has to be teeming with life, and once it has enough life sprawling on its surface, all that life is kind of absorbed by the Celestial, and that allows it to basically emerge, grow, actually be born. But in the process, the planet that they were incubating in is unfortunately destroyed. And Earth is sadly one of those planets. And part of the reason why the Eternals were ordered to take out the Deviants was because they were one way of trying to help planets basically garner more life, as Arishem created the Deviants to try and take out any predatory species, but the Deviants themselves basically evolved and became their own form of predators, and so the Eternals were created to basically counter that. And as such, the Eternals' real mission was to basically just help the Celestial in the center of Earth, Tiamat, basically emerge, so to speak. And once the Eternals learned that this was their mission, the team kind of split, with some members believing that Arishem's will needed to be followed to the letter, while others didn't exactly want to do it because, well, they kind of grew attached to the Earth and its people and didn't really want to see it go boom. And as a result, both sides basically wound up clashing to basically either help Tiamat or stop him. At the end of the day, the side that wanted to save the Earth won out, as well when Tiamat was about to emerge, one of the Celestials, Cersei, I think, was able to use her powers to basically turn him to stone, and as a result, the world was saved. But what if the Eternals didn't stop Tiamat? What if his emergence happened without a hitch? And that's where this episode comes in, as in this reality, Tiamat wound up emerging, a few years before he was going to in the main MCU timeline. And as a result, the Eternals really never even got the chance to learn about the true nature of their existence, and thus were never able to come together, and thus they were never able to stop Tiamat. And as a result, the Earth went boom. Entire continents, entire structures, entire societies basically went up in smoke. But humanity was not dead, so to speak. For whatever reason that the episode does not care to explain, humanity survived. Oh, don't get me wrong. A lot of people died, and I mean a lot of people. But on the remaining chunks of the Earth, humanity continued to live and flourish to a degree. The thing is, the Earth still went boom. The planet is ended. So, obviously, there's a bit of societal upheaval as the survivors kind of want to know who's alive, who's dead, and what the hell is going on. And in the midst of this chaos, one particular supervillain decided to take advantage of the situation. In this case, Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio. As in the midst of the chaos, he managed to take control of all of Stark Technologies' assets, and he pretty much took over. Utilizing an Iron Legion, he pretty much just took over what was left of society, and now what's left of humanity is pretty much just ruling under his thumb. And to try and keep everyone in line, he not only has a legion of Iron Man-like robots to pay match his beck and call, but he has two other assets exclusive to him. One Vision. So if you haven't watched WandaVision, and during the events of that show, Vision was fully rebuilt and basically came back white. Well, turns out Quentin Beck basically hijacked Vision, and now Vision completely works for him, pretty much acting as his enforcer and taking out anyone Mysterio wants him to. But the secondary tool he used to keep people in line. Well, it's Mysterio. What do you think he does? Illusions. He basically managed to take control of Stark's, fart, I think that's what it was called. And basically, utilizing its holographic capabilities, he was able to create an intricate network of illusions that you wouldn't even know were real unless you actually interacted with them. But the thing is, some of the illusions are some of the things that he touted weren't completely fake. While he would sometimes create illusions of more Iron Legion robots to create an intimidating number, a few of them were real. And unfortunately, by the time you figured out which was real and which was a hologram, you probably would get a laser to the face, and you wouldn't have enough time to actually fight the rest of them off. And on top of that, even if you could, there's still Vision to deal with, and that's not exactly going to help your case. Put simply, while resistance did form to try and fight Mysterio, well, that resistance, called the Alliance, sadly wasn't doing so well. And despite their best efforts, their numbers were dwindling little by little, while Mysterio continued exerting his influence over what was left of humanity. And the thing is, he really wanted to crush the Alliance. Because the thing is, in order to keep his network of illusions up and running, he basically routed the entire network through himself, as it's basically linked through a series of nanobots. And to ensure that nobody else could hijack this network, he laced it into him. He pretty much injected it under his skin. And so while he's in complete control of it, it's also taking a great toll on his body, causing him to age rapidly to the point where he is very much ready to kick the bucket. And as such, while Mysterio doesn't want to die, he at least wants to take down the Alliance at least wants to take down the Alliance. And as such, he's been cracking down a lot harder. Which is where the hero of our story comes in, as we focus on this reality's version of Riri Williams, aka Ironheart. As, well, she wants to do something about Quentin Beck. But the thing is, she has to be careful with how she takes this guy down, as she can't go around blasting at whatever she wants, because one, she is not a Stark and doesn't have access to the available technology that Quentin Beck has hijacked, and two, again, he's got greater numbers, illusions, and Vision on his side. All of those things combined make for a very formidable threat. And as such, Riri has to try and work in the shadows, so to speak. And how she does that is she basically does these underground deals, meeting with weapons dealers and so forth, in order to get various pieces of technology to slowly try and build up a weapon that she hopes to use against Vision, as she believes if she takes Vision out, then she might be able to at least neuter what Quentin Beck is capable of. Unfortunately, though, when she goes to meet with her contact one day, well, she gets outed. As it turns out, the contact had heard rumors that Riri was trying to build a weapon to use against Mysterio, and so she had pretty much alerted his Iron Legion to what she was doing, and pretty much just turned her in. And as such, while Riri is able to get the technology she wants, which in this case was a component from an Easy Bake Oven, or a microwave, I don't know. I have to rewatch the episode. Point is, it was some kind of household appliance. Riri basically makes a run for it, and we see that even in this reality, Riri has basically tried creating the Ironheart armor, and it's basically the same capabilities as her Mark I armor was from Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Only it's even less responsive because, again, she's kind of living in a post-apocalyptic world run by a madman who is just one straw away from breaking his camel's back. And so she's doing everything and so it's just taking everything she had. It took everything she had just to build her new set of armor, and even that's not completely reliable. However, while she is able to at least get through a good chunk of the Iron Legion robots that go after her, sadly their firepower is still too much for her, and she has to fly to the roof. Though unfortunately, her tech ends up failing before she makes a clean getaway, not helped by the fact that Vision arrives on the scene and she pretty much realizes she's fucked. However, help arrives in the form of the Alliance, whose leaders are, and I apologize, I gotta look this up, excuse me. Sorry, I had to look up a specific name. But basically, the leaders of the Alliance are Yingnan, Shang-Chi's aunt, Valkyrie from the Thor movies, Wong from Doctor Strange, and Okoye from the Black Panther movies. Basically these few warriors have banded together to try to be the heads of the Alliance. And they've also heard rumors about what Riri is doing. And so after they save her from Vision, they let her know that they want to help her build her weapon. And while Riri is hesitant to trust any of them, because again, this is a world where Mysterio reigns supreme, she doesn't really take what they say seriously, but she does at least concede, but they do at least concede that, yeah, they're not doing so well, they understand why she doesn't trust them, and at the very least, where else would she go? As she's already on their ship, because they're kind of flying through what's left of Earth, which is a giant asteroid field now, so she really doesn't have anywhere to go, so the only place that she can go is forward. And she does eventually reach the Alliance's new base, which is what looks like a submarine that's just stuck in a rock formation. But either way, they bring her on board and they bring her to a lab, which the reason, and the thing is, while the weapon that Riri was trying to create to take Vision down, it was supposed to be something to disrupt the vibranium in Vision's systems. And basically what Riri believed is that if she could turn this weapon on Vision, it could completely destabilize him, and like I said, it would pretty much just neuter Mysterio. But the thing is, with what she was getting at her disposal, it would take her a long time to do that. So how fortunate it is then that the Alliance is letting her just walk right in and pretty much telling her, use whatever you want, we got plenty to spare. And as such, Riri takes them up on the offer and begins working on her weapon more in earnest. Unfortunately, though, well, Mysterio wants the Alliance out, and he was watching when the Alliance grabbed Riri before, and when the Alliance grabbed Riri, and so he believes this is his only opportunity to take out what's left of the Alliance in one fell swoop. And as such, he sends Vision to their base with the intent of pretty much wiping them out, and, well, let's just say Vision has a very easy job, as he manages to get into their base and pretty much just mows down any of their soldiers. And unfortunately, while the Resistance leaders do end up catching wind that Vision's arrived, well, even they know they can't buy Riri a lot of time. As she says that it would take her at least 12 hours to finalize the weapon, and Wong tells her that she's got 7 minutes, as that's how long that his spell will last to protect her. As such, Riri is basically just put on the spot, as she has to just cobble together whatever she can to build this weapon, while Wong and the other Alliance leaders go outside and Wong used his magic to give them magical armor in order to fight off against Vision. And while they do last a lot longer than most of the regular soldiers, unfortunately, they can't stop Vision, as he manages to mow them down, and while Vision doesn't end up killing them, well, he does basically. After they're knocked out, he is able to get into the lab. Thankfully, though, Riri was able to get the final touches on, and while it's not exactly up to 100%, she is able to get her new weapon, in this case, Gauntlet, up and running long enough to open fire on Vision, and, well, guess what? It does its job, as Vision is completely destabilized and shut down. And, well, Mysterio saw that, and he's not exactly happy. And so he basically tries looking, and so when he is able to identify Riri, because again, Stark Tech saw through Vision's eyes, he basically realizes she needs to be taken out, as she's too much of a threat. And as such, the Alliance leaders end up regaining consciousness and find Riri, and basically they realize that with Riri on their side, they can finally have a chance against Quentin Beck, especially since Vision is now out of the picture. Unfortunately, they also have to abandon this base, as it's been compromised, and they have to pretty much just destroy it so that Quentin Beck can't get access to any of their resources here. And unfortunately, well, the Alliance leaders and Riri are all that's left of them. So as such, Riri and the 4 leaders end up leaving, taking their ship, and, well, they end up blowing it up, paying their respects, basically saying a prayer for the people who lost their lives, and basically just going on their way. Unfortunately, though, before they can get too far, the Alliance ends up getting word from some of their outer bases that Mysterio has basically upped the ante on his Iron Legion bases. He's basically tightening security, so to speak, and just making it so that at this point, any direct confrontations would be a suicide mission. So any Alliance outposts that are excuse me one second. Sorry, dry throat. But like I was saying, any Alliance outposts that are currently out there on any of the chunks of Earth that are still left, well, they can't provide any help, so they can't provide any help. So it's just the Alliance and Riri at this point. However, Riri thinks that they can take the fight to Quentin at this point, as without Vision on standby, he's at his weakest, and she thinks that now is the only time that they can actually land a definitive blow against him. And she believes that she thinks that she knows how to finally take Quentin Beck down for good. They need to disable his illusion tech. Even if he still has access to a large chunk of Stark Tech's resources and their technology, when it comes down to who they are, when it comes down to the illusions are still a very big part of Quentin's arsenal. Like I said, they bolster his forces. They make people feel more intimidated because they don't really know what's real and what's fake. And so, if Riri thinks they can take down his illusions, then they can give people a bigger fighting chance. And so Riri said opposite that she wants to try and go and take it down herself. Although the problem is that once she gets the network, she has to find a way to link to it in order to actually shut it down. How fortunate, then, that Riri has some parts that were directly connected to Quentin Beck on standby, as she basically takes what's left of Vision and converts it into a new set of armor. Basically, a synthoid armor that would pretty much allow whoever wears it the capabilities of a full synthezoid like Vision. However, there is a risk to wearing it, as once one is basically bonded to the armor, there is a very low chance of being able to remove it, as the armor basically integrates into a person's system and basically becomes one with them. So it's made clear that once Riri puts this suit on, there's a very good chance she won't be able to take it off. But Riri is willing to take that chance if it means that they can take Mysterio down. As such, once she converts the Vision's body into a new armor for herself, which I admit it does look really damn cool. I love the way it's white. It's got Vision's color, not Vision colors. We see the arc reactor still in the chest. It's genuinely cool. Riri and the Alliance leaders do basically make fly right to Mysterio's home base, and of course, upon arriving, they are of course assaulted by Mysterio's security system, so to speak. But thanks to the synthezoid armor that Riri created, she's able to see through the illusions and figure out what's fake and what's real. As such, she ends up flying ahead of the Alliance's ship and basically tries directing them to whatever is real, so they can basically stay out of the fire. But once she gets close enough, her armor starts going wonky, and suddenly, as a result, she's not able to. And as a result, the illusion, what allowed her to see through the illusions, fails, and now she can't tell what's fake anymore. And unfortunately, this comes at a rather bad time, as a legion of Iron Man robots comes flying out and basically ends up leading an attack right on the Alliance ship, which in turn distracts them enough for this big gun to blast at them and shoot them right out of the sky, resulting in Riri and the Alliance just coming to crash down to Earth and basically getting knocked out. However, Riri is woken up by, again, hold on a second. She's woken up by Yingnan. Sorry, again, I have trouble remembering her name. I don't remember. I'm sorry, but basically, Yingnan wakes Riri up and lets them know that the other Alliance leaders are basically fighting with Mysterio's forces. So now is their only chance to get into his base and take down the illusion network. As such, Riri, despite her armor kind of being slightly neutered, does end up listening, and she and Yingnan run into Mysterio's base and do find what seems to be the center of the illusion. That seems to be the center of the illusion network, which, yeah, I did kind of spoil this a little bit, but this is not the center, and Riri ends up learning about this a little too late, as the Institute tries interfacing with it. Everything literally falls apart, much to Riri's confusion. In fact, even Yingnan wasn't even real. And as everything falls apart, Riri soon finds that she's in a cell. Yep, it turns out all of this was a load. Like I said earlier, Mysterio is the true center of the illusion network. So, of course, this entire setup was just to lure Riri in. As such, Riri is angry and begins pounding on her cell to try and get Mysterio to basically face her, which is at this point that Mysterio reveals what the center of the illusion network is. But at this point, he explains why he wanted Riri here. It was kind of a twofold reason. The first reason was he wanted to basically face the Alliance, he wanted to eliminate the Alliance personally, and he basically allowed Riri to integrate with Vision enough so that they could get close enough, and then he could basically just show his hand and shut them all down. which also leads to the secondary reason why he wants Riri here. You see, the thing is, Quentin Beck is the one that took control of Vision. So even with Riri taking control of Vision's technology, well, she's not in control of it. The thing is, while she could access enough of its technology in order to use it for herself, Quentin Beck is still the one holding the metaphorical puppet strings here, and so he basically had full control over what Riri could and couldn't do. And once she had gotten close enough, he shut down her ability to see through his illusions just so that she could lead the Alliance into a suicide mission. And the thing is, he wanted the armor. He basically just wanted the armor. He understands that Riri is brilliant, beyond brilliant. But like I said, Mysterio is not doing well physically. He is going to kick the bucket any day now. But Riri's new armor? It's a miracle. It's something that he never could have imagined. And so he believes that why bother trying to save his own body when he could have Vision's body? And as a result, using his link to Vision, he basically tries to steal the armor. And as I said, because this is the armor is so integrated with Riri, it's basically, taking away the armor at this point would basically destroy her. Of course, Riri resists, and she believes that the connection at least works two ways, and she manages to, what she thinks, cut off Mysterio, as she manages to break out of her cell and tries punching him, only to find that he's an illusion as well, as when she punches him, he literally shatters into thousands of mirror pieces, and every time he reappears, she tries decking him again, and it happens over and over. So Riri realizes she's still in the middle of one of his illusions, probably made even more real because of the fact that she's wearing the Vision armor. So odds are she's not really going to be at her A game. And so she finally yells at Beck to just exit his illusions and show himself for real. As such, Mysterio finally makes a real appearance as he decides, fine, if my illusions won't sway you, maybe the truth will. And as such, he dispels the illusions completely, and he reveals to Riri that she never left the field. Because the thing is, his base was located in the middle of a field. And he shows her what really happened to the Alliance. They're dead. All of them. All of them were critically injured when the ship crashed, and they're pretty much just gone. The Alliance has had their head completely cut off, and there's nothing left to face Mysterio. And when Riri sees this, she has a breakdown. Because the thing is, throughout this entire episode, Riri has made it clear that she has nothing. She genuinely had nothing left to fight for. Her friends, her family, her life, all were upended when the Emergence occurred, and with Mysterio pretty much taking over the planet, all she had left to keep going was her will to fight. And even the hope that she could make the world better. But with her newfound friends basically lying dead in front of her, that will to fight breaks too. And as a result, Riri just kind of shuts down. She has an emotional breakdown, and well, that's all Mr. Beck needs, as he once more accesses connection to her armor to try and steal it off of her and to try and invigorate himself. And this time, Riri is not fighting back. And, well, it looks like Mysterio's going to win, as Riri is crying out as she's about to die. But the thing is, Riri has an audience. So, I've talked about this before, obviously, because it's What If, but the Watcher was watching this whole time. Which, again, no duh, it's What If. He's the narrator for this entire series. Of course he's watching. But the thing is, his narration has been a lot more prevalent in this episode. And the reason why? Because the Watcher has seen these events before. As a Watcher of the Infinite Multiverse, he has seen multiple variants of this timeline specifically occur across multiple timelines. And in each of those timelines, Riri Williams is usually the key factor in taking down Quentin Beck. As she is humanity's last hope, she's the one that fights endlessly to save everybody, but in every single universe, no matter what choices are made, it all ends the same, with Mysterio ending her life and taking what's left of Vision's armor. Across all these realities, the Watcher has seen Riri pretty much give up and allow herself to die, and the world ends up belonging to Mysterio. And, well, throughout this entire episode, the Watcher believed that this reality was going to be no exception. And so as Riri's about to give up, he tries averting his eyes because, well, he's the Watcher. He's been ordered to never interfere. And yes, he's broken that oath before, but this time, but he genuinely does not want to be, but he genuinely can't let this happen, but he genuinely can't stand by and watch this happen. So he doesn't. As once more he breaks his oath and decides, you know what, screw my order, I'm not letting another version of Riri fail. And so he reaches out to her. He tells her to not give up, to fight. And that extra little push is all that Riri needs as she manages to stand on her own, and she manages to exert enough of her will over the armor that she's able to call back the bits that Mysterio took, and so she turns to Mysterio, with Mysterio absolutely shocked that she's been able to do all this, but where she flies at him and uses the armor's power to phase right through him and steal all of his nanobots. And as such from there, she pretty much just completely disconnects Mysterio from his illusion network, much to his horror. And as such, with her now in complete control of it, she shuts it down completely. Of course, Mysterio, being Mysterio, is still being a sore loser even as he's on the ground dying, as he talks about how he can still control the truth. He's still in control of everything. He can make her out to be a villain. He can basically control everything. No one will ever know what she did here. But Riri decides, fine, then I'll let them know. I'll show them that there's still hope. And so she flies to the sky, and using her access to Mysterio's network, she ends up creating a giant light show that everyone across every piece of Earth can see. The Avengers A, letting them know that heroes are still out there and they're still willing to fight for them. And of course, the people of Earth end up seeing this, and well, they begin cheering. Hell, some people even end up knocking down a statue of Mysterio. As a result, well, Mysterio finally kicks the bucket, and we see Riri floating in the middle of the asteroid field that was Earth, empowered and ready to keep fighting no matter the circumstance. But the thing is, she only managed to get that win thanks to the encouraging words of the Watcher. And as we see the Watcher watching all of this, we see that someone else is watching him. In this case, other Watchers, which, yeah, we know that they exist. We saw that there were multiple Watchers from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but they've been keeping an eye on our friend Uwe-2, because I think that's the version that I think that's the Watcher that says. But yeah, they've been watching Uwe-2, and they are fully aware of him breaking his oath not once but multiple times. And this latest attempt has finally made them realize that Uwe-2 might be a flight risk, so to speak, as they decide that they might need to keep a closer eye on him from now on. So yeah, that's the episode. That is the What If the Emergence Destroyed the Earth. And my thoughts on it? Honestly, it's a really damn good episode. I'm not going to lie. When it comes down, okay, I'm not going to deny. It bugged me to hell and back throughout the episode that they never explain why humanity has not gone down the crapper. Because, you see, the thing is, you would think that the destruction of Earth would result in everybody dying. I'm genuinely surprised that there is still even an atmosphere at this point. Look, I get it. The chunks of the Earth are big, so there's a good chance that they probably could still be going around, so they could still be floating out there, but you would think that with the planet utterly destroyed, that these chunks would end up getting flung out into space. Some further away from the sun, some closer to it. And while I can imagine that some would be a little bit more stagnant, I think that the resulting shaking and throwing would probably throw off a few hundred people or so. So I'm still kind of or hell, even if that's not the case, how is they still having a breathable atmosphere? I genuinely don't understand it. Again, there could be a lot of technicals that are going on behind the scenes. Maybe it's all the sorcerers of the universe managed to use their magic to sustain the pieces of the Earth, or maybe the star technology managed to hold it together, or maybe I'm just a dumbass that doesn't understand science. It could be that, and even if the Earth was destroyed, people are still living. I don't know. It just feels strange to me that they don't give an explanation as to how humanity is still alive, despite the planet that we call home pretty much going up in smoke. But with that said, what makes the episode work, is the arc for the main characters and the world we're presented. What I really do like is that we are shown kind of the natural course of events from seeing Earth pretty much just go boom. We see how humanity has adapted, and yeah, it's sort of a post-apocalyptic society. While there are enough remnants of the original society in place that that what's left of humanity still has a sense of normalcy to them, well, in the result, there's still clearly a sense of things are not right. That basically, because of the emergence, what's left of humanity is not doing as well as we want to. Especially since someone like Mysterio has managed to basically take control of the world's population and is now pretty much just keeping them under his boot heel. And as a result, we do kind of see how the society. As a result, we do kind of get a window into how the society operates. About people hiding behind the scenes, having to be careful of what they can and can't do with fear of Mysterio listening in on them. Not helped by the fact that because of his illusions, you wouldn't be able to tell what's real and what isn't. So a person that you may think is a trusted ally may in fact just be a spy or Mysterio, if not Mysterio himself, just hiding behind one of his illusions. It makes for a very tense story, and the way they kind of showcase Mysterio in the episode really makes him look threatening. I'm not going to lie. I love how Mysterio is portrayed in this episode. His personality is consistent with what we were presented in Spider-Man Far From Home, but this episode basically shows what happens when someone like that is given unlimited power. And yes, Mysterio goes over the edge with it. Again, the person we're shown is basically the same guy that we saw from, like I said, he's the same guy that we saw from Spider-Man Far From Home. As he's impatient, he's angry, he sees himself as the big kahuna, everybody has to follow him, he just wants their attention, and if something happens at all that gets in his way or inconveniences him, he reacts with complete outrage and anger. I like that. I like how they showcase that. But the difference here between this movie and Far From Home is that the Mysterio in that movie, well, he was trying to gain power. He was trying to gain attention. And so we saw him basically trying to manipulate the circumstances to try and prop himself on top. Whereas this Mysterio has more than met that challenge, as he is now taking control of all Stark assets and now rules the entire planet, or what's left of it anyway. And as a result, with access to the technologies that he has, any resistance is just squashed. He's able to trick, he's able to lie, he's able to manipulate, and he's able to basically brute force everybody into doing what he says. And you see this and you see him in the center of it all, and he looks fucking creepy. The design they give old Mysterio genuinely makes him look like a threat, because with the nanites flowing through his veins, his eyes are glowing. Most of the time he's hooked up to these tubes so that he basically can stay alive. And while it's clear that he's basically on death's door, there's still a hint of menace to him. And with everything he has at his disposal, you really are afraid of this guy, because like I said, because he's so unhinged, you're afraid of what he could do next. That's all it takes is for him to get too angry and your ass is grass. And we saw that in the episode when he sicked Vision on the Alliance base and pretty much wiped out most of their forces with very little effort. And on top of that, even when he does lose Vision, he still is able to manipulate the situation. He's able to use his illusions to trick people into doing what he wants. He uses them to try and give Riri the illusion of control so that she'll willingly fly into his base so that he can take control of the armor. He pretends to be Yin Yang. Again, sorry, hold on. It was Yin Yang. I don't know why I did a second guess myself there, but he pretends to be Yin Yang with the intention of trying to get Riri close, so that he can try and steal her armor. He throws her failure right in her face at the most inopportune time so that he can break her will. He basically is a monster. And it works throughout the episode. Mind you, by the end, when he does lose all of his power, he does kind of revert back to the same whiny bitch that we saw in Far From Home. But the thing is, he was always that whiny bitch. It's just that before he had firepower behind him to ensure that you couldn't challenge his attitude. But afterwards he has nothing, so you kind of see him for the pathetic loser he really is. Again, I like that. Essentially, you see through the illusion. But again, Mysterio really does up his game as a good villain for the episode. And like I said, the society we're presented with him is a threatening one. As the idea of him not only having legions of Iron Soldiers pretty much doing his bidding, ensures that people will not be able to fight against him. But again, combined with having Vision on his side, who basically is almost untouchable, combined with his illusions, basically making you question what's real and what isn't, it ensures that people can't really do much to defend themselves without Mysterio pretty much breathing down their neck. And the way they show the battle going on, it really does. While there's enough hope present that you want to see, that you believe the good guys can have a fighting chance if they play their cards right, there's also the metaphorical sword of Damocles is hanging over all of their heads throughout the entire episode, especially Riri. I do like the arc represented with Riri. I like that her character is still consistent with what we saw in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, except in this case, Riri Williams is we're presented with a version of Riri Williams who has basically lost even more than her main universe counterpart. Her entire world has gone boom thanks to Tiamat's emergence. What's left of society is under the boot heel of this monster, and she has no idea who she can and can't trust. And when she finally does learn to trust people in the form of the Alliance, they get killed too, and she's left with nothing. So her arc throughout the story really feels like a compelling one, as you see this hardened young girl just doing everything she can to hold it together, with the only thing that keeps her going being the promise that she can take the villain down and win the day for what's left of the Earth. But the thing is, combined with the Watcher's narration about how her journey is hopeless, you do really feel sorry for her, because you see how hard she's fighting to ensure a win, to take Mysterio down and save the human race. But Again, the Watcher throughout all this says he's seen this all before, and while he admires what Riri does, he sounds tired, exasperated, which makes sense. Like I said, he's seen multiple versions of these same set of events across multiple universes, and in all of those universes, they all end the same way. And so he basically looks at all of this and basically it's like rewatching the same remake of an episode over and over. At this point, you know the plot. You're just waiting for it to play itself out. And in the case of the Watcher, it's like that, but on a grander scale. As well, despite the whole multiple universes thing, these are real people, and because of his oath as the Watcher, he has to basically just stand by and do nothing as Riri continues to shoot herself in the foot and eventually hand over power to Mysterio. It's sad, and combine that with Riri's determination, you kind of feel afraid. And the thing is, you do sort of hope that this will be the universe that proves the Watcher wrong. But yeah, it's only because of the Watcher's intervention that things end up that things take a turn for the better in this universe. As like I said, he's the one that pushes Riri to keep fighting, even though it looks like there's nothing left to fight for. Which I do think works, but like I said, combined with that narration combined with Riri's character does make for a very tragic and compelling story. You do want to see Riri win despite the insurmountable odds. And when she's about to lose, you're right there with the Watcher. You want to tell her, no, keep fighting, you can still beat him. And likewise, when the Watcher finally says, you know what, fuck my oath, I ain't gotta help, it does make the moment even more triumphant, because it allows Riri to know that there are still people in her corner. There are still people that she can fight for, who want to help her, and that extra oomph does make her final victory that much stronger. And I like that, and I like that it came from the Watcher, especially since with the ending of the episode implying that that simple action of interference is going to have dire consequences for him. You kind of realize that he basically he pretty much just put his job on the line just so that Riri wouldn't die and this universe could live on. And I like that. I like how that's showcased in the episode. I like how that plays out. And by the end, when Riri does take Mysterio down and lets what's left of humanity know there's still hope out there, it does feel very earned, and it feels like a satisfying end to all the struggles that she went through just to get to this point. And I like that. I genuinely like that. And so, as a result, while I do still question a few big things regarding the premise for the episode, the plot, what we're presented in the episode, I think is really good. I like the struggle of all the main characters. I like the world we're presented. I like Mysterio as the villain. I like Riri's journey throughout the episode. I like how everything comes together. I like the emotional depth and turmoil we feel alongside the eventual triumph when things eventually work out. Yeah, I can still question a few things every now and then, and I do still scratch my head about some of the technicalities. But at the end of the day, I think this is a really damn good episode, and I do think it's worth their time to watch. So, yeah, on the whole, I enjoyed this episode. I was happy to watch it. It was really damn good, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what kind of consequences the watcher has to face. So, till then, yeah, good episode. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and I hope to see you next week as we see What If tackle another adaptation of another Marvel alternate universe, as we see the heroes of the MCU go to the Old West. So till then, I hope you have a good Wednesday, and take care.